You ever wonder how Mariah Carey feels about all those memes that talk about Christmas coming? She sings I think, the most downloaded or popular Christmas song in the world, right? All I Want for Christmas Is You. And so it's become a punchline. And I love the memes myself. They talk about defrosting Mariah Carey in the month of, I think it's October. There's there's so many of them, and I gotta wonder, like, if it was me, I would think it was a ball. It'd be sort of the Rick roll with Rick Astley that I would think, look at all the free publicity. I get to be the center of this cultural moment. And so I saw another Mariah Carey Christmas meme about how, here she is for another month of December. And I always thought, well, I wonder how she feels about that. Just a weird, random thought to begin this random show. And if you've got something you want to talk about, and it doesn't have to be about religion or atheism, politics, today let's just whatever. I don't care. Whatever you want to talk about, I'm releasing just a few extra ones and a few extra streams here in the last part of the year just because we can. I'm going to see the new Godzilla movie tonight. I asked Natalie, "Hey, you want to go?" Not really her bag, but I mean she respects the genre and the franchise, but it's not really her thing. So, a buddy of mine are going to go and catch a showing of Godzilla minus one. Now, I own Shin Godzilla on Blu ray, and it is one of the greatest things in the known universe. It's weird because it's a Toho production, which is important, but they manage the balance between sci-fi cheese and mind-blowing knock you out of your chair amazing special effects because there's both in it. So you're at first you're like, what in the hell am I looking at? And then it's holy shit, that's amazing. It's true to the classic Godzilla films of the mid 20th century. It's charming in that way. There's a lot of political subtext to it, about the maneuverings of governments in the wake of a crisis. I just thought Shin Godzilla was amazing. And here is Godzilla minus one with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. They're like, you must see this film. And I guess they made the whole movie for about $16 million. Hello, Marvel, right? Hello. Hello, Hollywood in general. It can be done for less. And stop bitching about how much money you're losing on $500 million films. There's a way. Good storytelling and creativity can make a way. So I'm going to go see Godzilla. Review is forthcoming. Not that I won't watch almost anything. And here's proof. Last night I watched a Netflix documentary about people in England who chase a piece of cheese down a hill. I'm just saying. I did not know this existed. The Cooper's Hill Cheese Rolling and Wake. And I don't know what they mean by wake. It is an annual event held in England at a place called Cooper's Hill. And I guess the hill is really steep, almost a 50-degree down angle. The television doesn't do it justice. I hear that if you stand on the top, the precipice, and lean over, you'll get vertigo. It's a steep hill. And apparently, the origins are disputed, but somebody somewhere decided they were going to take a round piece of wrapped cheese and roll it down roll it down the hill, and then people, I think by the hundreds, would fling themselves after the cheese. And this would be a sport that would happen once a year. People get jacked up, busted limbs, concussions, stitches, the injuries, or just people's ankles turned around. It's crazy. You should see them. part of the strategy, they know they are not going to catch the cheese because the cheese is rolling much, much faster than even the falling human can get there. But part of the goal is to be the first down to the bottom, and there's like a white line, a chalk line. And you don't just run. In order to get there, you must fall. You fall forward and you tumble and you splat and you slam and you crush and it's like you're in a tumble dryer and you're getting the hell banged out of you, and then you manage to pop back up. There's a strategy to how you fall and where you fall so that as you go boom, 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 you jump up and keep running. People practice this. First one down to the bottom of the hill gets to hold up the cheese and claim victory. Who thinks this up? Where did it come from? But I watched a whole documentary on Netflix. It's called We Are the Champions. And they do like everything from champion hot pepper eating contests. That was insane. Aaron Raw is big into hot foods. He carries a bottle of this super spicy stuff. I don't even know what it is. It's called the Schofield meter for the intensity of how hot it is. He puts that stuff on everything. We are at a convention, we all go out to dinner, and he will order something that's hot anyway. He's got his beer that looks like Pennzoil, right? Super black, dark, thick beer that's probably got a skull on the side and, includes the sacrifice, of a virgin. And there's virgin blood in it. Hell, I don't know. It's very gothic. And he reaches into his long leather coat and he pulls out his bottle of hot spice, squillion on the Schofield meter. Is it Schofield? Am I saying it right? And he just pour that stuff into his drink, into his beer. He puts it in his coffee, puts it in everything. What's wrong with people? At some point, do you stop tasting the food? All you taste is hot. All you taste is the heat. There's no actual taste of ingredients. Don't you get to the point where it's pointless? It's too hot. You don't even taste the food. Can you damage your taste buds? The people in this contest who were eating the hottest foods on the planet, engineered foods, like not even in nature. Somebody went and they cross pollinated different peppers and added a bunch of stuff and jacked up the DNA and then prayed to Satan and got the peppers are evil. That's how hot they are. These professional hot pepper eaters are on stage gushing sweat. Their eyes are red. They're crying. They're huffing. They're puffing. They're forbidden to drink any milk or whatever. I guess milk helps. Forbidden. Are they damaging their bodies? You can damage, right? Could you not burn out your taste buds so that then you won't taste anything for the rest of your life? Somebody Google it for me. Can hot peppers damage taste buds? I haven't done it. Please do it for me and include the answer in the comments section, would you? Anyway, it's on Netflix. We Are the Champions. But I mean, I'll watch almost any documentary. I will. I watched one on a children's group out of Australia that I had never heard of. Now, remember that I don't have any kids of my own, but Natalie was all over it because her kids grew up with a group called the Wiggles. I guess the Wiggles is a phenomenon in Australia and it's branched out into the US and around the world. A group of people who wear primary colors, who sing songs targeted to very young children, and it's really sweet. And they seem to they're edgy. It was founded by a group of educators who wanted to go out and just provide stuff for young children, wholesome stuff. And so they do these songs. There's a hot potato song and drive the car song. I don't know. There's a bunch of children's songs. I don't know anything about it. I don't have young children, but it's on. Oh, look, there's a documentary. I think it's called Meet the Wiggles. And I watched the whole damn thing and loved it. So now I'm well versed in Wiggles. Natalie and I were in the kitchen late. We were humming the hot potato song. I'm just saying. we were uh, we were doing the hot potato song. I'm reading the comments. Let's see. Tabasco sauce in beer is pretty good, especially when you get to the bottom. Spicy finish. Cashel says your taste buds renew every 2 weeks or so. You mean like shark's teeth? The old ones rotate out and you get new ones? Is that true? Yerbata says you can destroy taste buds, they regrow quickly. If you eat salty food, it damages your taste buds. That's one reason people keep eating more to get the same effect. I'm just reading the comment. Don't take my word for it. Okay? Don't take my word for it. Anyway, taste buds. I got to know. I'm setting up 2024. I know I'm going to be speaking in Canada late summer. I have been asked tentatively to do a debate with a Christian at a university in Virginia. I don't want to get too much into detail until everything is solidified and confirmed. I think they're still going through certain channels. Maybe they have to vet me. I don't know. But I was contacted and they said, would you like to come out and do a debate? My response was, well, I'm not a fan of the format. And what I mean by that is opening statement, rebuttal, rebuttal. And then you've got 3 minutes and you've got 3 minutes. And that particular format doesn't work for my style. I'm more of a conversationalist. I'm not interested in reading off of a script and then back to you, Bob. But if we were sitting on the stage together one on one in good faith in a forum that is structured with respect and goodwill, and we were just talking like real people in front of a live audience of college students, that's my bag. That would be my thing. I feel like I would have something to bring to the conversation. I have a little bit imposter syndrome when it comes to debate. I'm not trained in debate, and I know it's a very specific skill. Matt Dillahunty does a lot of debate, that kind of thing. But talking? You want me to talk about religion? Specifically, you want me to get into Christianity? Okay. All right. Have your people call my people. That's a conversation I have had quite often and would be happy to have again in an auditorium in Virginia. I will let you know if that comes to fruition. I'll be at the American Atheist Convention. Anyway, all of that's going to come into focus in the next few weeks as 2024 arrives. And you can always monitor the events page to see what's up, where, and when. The thinkingatheist.com/events. Nothing is on that page now, but there will be quite soon. Anyway, I'm honored to be invited. I'm glad they thought of me. They said one of the reasons that they reached out is because they thought I was a good guy. I don't feel like it was a setup. They said, you seem like a person of goodwill. You seem like you would be a good ambassador for the subject, and we would like to have you out. And I took that as a tremendous compliment. So thank you for that. If it happens, I am going to try to get video of it so that all of you can see what happened. And I'll try not to be an embarrassment to the movement. Right? I just want to go. When I go on stage, just tell me I'm pretty and talented. Would you just validate me? Let's see. Oh, look, there's some people who want to talk on the switchboard. And again, today's no rules. I don't care. Just nothing grotesque or, you know, not safe for work. I think I had one the other day. I just edited that call right out. No, I don't. I'm not here to shock, but whatever. If there's something else, something real, let's just chit chat. 780, I think it says Peter. Do I have that right?
Yes, you do. When
Peter,
are you
are you
coming to
there?
Canada and where? Yes, I am. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
forgive me. I didn't have a button pushed on my end. User error. Peter, thanks for calling, my friend. Let's talk. What's on your mind?
Where are you going in Canada? That's one question that just came to me when I was waiting here, hearing you talk.
I'll be at the Blue Water Atheist Humanist Convention in Sarnia, Ontario. That's going to be coming up in it's August or September of 2024. So it'll be after the summer months. It's an annual event. I've spoken there for the last 2 years, and it's just been a ball. So I'll have that link. They've already got a website. They may have a website up already. Just BahaCon, BAHACON 2024. It should pop up.
Well, as much as I enjoy you, I'm not driving for 2 days to get to Ontario.
Yeah,
Sorry.
right. When you say Canada, it's like, oh, well, okay, that doesn't really help me.
Yeah.
That's an awfully a lot of real estate there. But if
Yeah, I
anybody
know
he is going
John
to be
who lives
near
in
Sarnia,
Canada.
it's really good. Go ahead. What part of Canada do you live
Yeah,
in?
you should, Edmonton,
Okay,
Alberta,
wonderful.
the city of champignons.
What do you want to talk about, Peter? What's happening, brother?
I want to know, like, I listened to you and Aaron Raw, and I'm trying to remember the other guy's name.
Matt Dillahunty?
Round guy, bald, with a kind of a white goatee. And I know you know him. I've seen you on programs together. But Dillahunty?
Yes, yes. I don't know. He's not very around anymore, but I am going to bring that up at a party. I'm going to bring that up at a party. I'm sorry. That just go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, Matt
Times when I
Dillahunty.
see you guys, it's like a lot of times when I see you guys, it's like older videos that I haven't discovered until recently that pop up on my feed on YouTube.
Yeah.
But all you guys, okay, I got to tell you, I'm as dumb as a stump, okay? All you guys are way smarter than me, way more educated than me, and it shows. I mean, you have so much command of the Bible and science and reality and stuff. But, I was pretty much an atheist by the time I got to junior high school. And I hated church. I always found it a creepy place right from when I was a little young kid. I thought it was a creepy place. I hated going to church, and my dad used to drag us all off. So, and like I say, by junior high school, I was pretty much sure this whole God thing was sort of like Santa Claus, another old guy with a big, big beard that wasn't true.
Yes.
So how, as a smart guy, do you justify taking all that time?
Well, it's a great question. First of all, I may not be that smart. I mean, I'm smooth. I can, I talk a pretty good game, but I am not a great thinker, and I'll be the first to admit it. But when we understand the power of indoctrination, programming, cultural reinforcement, threats of hell, we see all the reinforcers that religions use. They bring you up in an alternate normal. So when I was being raised, I thought everything else was abnormal. The same people who taught me not to, they taught me to look both ways before I crossed the street, never get in a car with strangers, that told me don't put your hand on the stove, that fed my mouth and put the shelter over my head, that I gave absolute trust to for my survival. Those were the same people who told me that the Bible was true and Jesus was real and I would one day go to heaven if I said the salvation prayer. Once you get a kid early, and churches like to call this the 4 to 14 window. Many of us raised in a devoutly fundamentalist religious background, we just didn't know the difference. I said it this way in my autobiography, Deconverted. Parents will install a program onto a child's mental hard drive, and then they make sure that that program runs 24/7. There is an alternate, there is an uninstall option, but they don't tell you that. They say, no, no, this is the only program that works. And so, many of us grow up and realize much later, or some never find out at all, that actually, no, you can uninstall the program, and there are much better programs to do the job in this world. And so I really am convinced that people, young children, are victims of often even the best intentions of religious families. But if everything you see and do says God, Jesus, Bible, heaven, hell, you're in a cocoon, you're in a bubble, you're in an alternate world, and that's hard to break out of. It doesn't really have anything to do with intelligence. I think some of the most intelligent people in the world can have bad ideas. We've seen examples of that across the spectrum, right?
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, I've long thought that a lot of this religious indoctrination was child abuse. Um, I yes, it bothers me deeply.
Well,
One of the things though that set me on the path to atheism was in grade 4, and I went to a Catholic school, and we had nuns. Not all the teachers were nuns, but some of the teachers were nuns. And in religion class in grade 4, Sister Leona was telling us that, well, heaven isn't a place, and you're not going to see, hang out with your family and, your dead pets or anything like that. It's just a peace. You're at peace. You have no thoughts or whatever. And that started to sound to me a lot like, well, not existing anymore. Wait a minute.
wait, you're at peace, but you have no thoughts?
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
guess
like
that would be peace. I guess that would be
that sounds a
peace.
lot like laying in a box and holding your breath forever.
It's like that Twain quote: I had not existed for billions of years before now and had not suffered the slightest inconvenience from it. I think the same would be after I die, right? If I don't exist, I guess that's peace, or maybe in some context. But,
Yes.
cut some slack to those of us who took a long time busting out of the faith. It's people like to say ridiculous things like you need to grow up or religion is a mental illness, that kind of stuff. Those are horribly wrong, tremendously misguided, and often damaging points of view. Smart people can have and often do have bad ideas, and smart people are very good at outsmarting themselves. They know how to connect dots that may not even need to be connected. They are too clever sometimes, and so we have to be vigilant regardless of IQ. Okay.
Yes. Well, I often get into discussions with believers, and I always get hit with the thing about how it's written here in our book. It must be true, and I always tell them, well, I have a book that said Horton heard of who, and I'm not sure that's true.
And they only have one book, really, unless you count the
Yeah,
apologetics books that explain the book, and all the books that explain the book disagree. So they have to have other books to explain the books, which explain the books. It's just bizarre, Peter.
yeah,
But all my
yeah.
best up there in
Anyway,
Canada, and I hope the new year is
thank
very
you for
good to
taking my
you, my
call.
friend.
Me too. Like, I hope I get some cooperation with that.
All right. Hang in there, brother.
Bye bye.
I'll see you. I had somebody in the chat talk about a topic switch. Ask me about the bidet. How's the bidet? What's the update on the bidet? If you missed this conversation, I'll make it fast. Natalie went to stay with a cousin. Cousin lives near the beach in California. Much prettier than where we live. So I'm thinking she's out there having a good time, catching some rays, enjoying the waves, drinking a Mai Tai. I don't know. So I get her on the phone because I'm still at the house here. Hey, Ani, how's your trip? What's the best part? What's the best thing you've done? And she said, the best thing I have done is to sit on Shanna's toilet because she has a heated seat and a bidet. And I went blank. Like, what? Before I know it, Natalie is shopping online and she finds this attachment that you attach to the top of your toilet. You take the old seat off, the padded seat or whatever, and you put this bidet thing, and it is heated, nice and warm. And then when you want the bidet to work, you have a remote control and it's got a picture of an ass with water spraying on it on the remote. And I am not kidding. So you hit the ass water button and this little rod comes out. And then Water sprays up into your rectal area. Warm water. And then whenever you think you are clean, there's a dryer. There's a sensation. What do I think? I can't describe the sensation. I feel like this is not something that there should not be that sensation in that part of the body. Does that make any sense? But I will say, I will say that the warm toilet seat is bliss. 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, I have to go to the bathroom. And if I have to sit down and I hit that warm seat, oh man, that's nice. So I mean, what review can I possibly give it? It's cool and it's warm and it's comfortable and it's weird. Bidet update, December 2023. Thanks for caring enough to ask, by the way. I'm sorry for all of the visuals that particular description has conjured up in your mind. I'm sorry, I'm blanked out. I don't know how to segue out of bidet into my next call. David at 803. Do I have that right? Are you David?
I am.
Thanks for calling, my friend. Let's chat. What do you want to talk about?
Well, since you brought up Godzilla, I thought I would bring a bit of trivia that I learned from a friend of mine who is a huge Godzilla enthusiast and even does like Godzilla-based artwork. But followed it since he was, just a wee tot. But something that a lot of people may not realize is that the early models of Godzilla, what a lot of people think are scales was never scales. His skin, the pattern of his skin is actually modeled after the burn victims from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The original Godzilla was a political piece more than it was a monster movie.
Yeah, Godzilla was always symbolic. He was always what's the word I'm looking for? He was always a commentary on the nuclear age, on the
Yes,
recklessness of man, right?
very much so. But I thought that little tidbit might be interesting to you and the viewers.
So we're talking about the old classics, right? Where he's wearing the rubber suit and running around destroying
Hmm.
Tokyo. Those aren't scales. You're saying that was a they're
Yeah,
emulating the
the the
skin
te-
burns of
the
Hiroshima
texture of
and
the skin, yeah.
Nagasaki.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to go look that up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, forgive me. I
Um.
walked on you, and then there's that
Oh, not a
awkward
problem.
pause. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
and after this live stream, look up some classic Toho Godzilla. And I'm gonna go check out the skin and because now I'm all curious. But that's great trivia. Thanks for sharing.
Not a problem. And if I can do a minor little plug for my friend, uh, check out his site. It's neomonsterisland.com. Those that Godzilla based artwork he's got up there. I think he might have a little bit of that early trivia on there as well. But there's some interesting work on there. If you like Godzilla, then you might find it of interest.
I'm gonna check it out right now. I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for calling.
You're welcome. You have a great day.
Yeah, see you later. Looks like the switchboard's pretty open. I guess a lot of people are probably finishing up the workday today. Bad time to live stream. Or is there a bad time to live stream? Let's take a look here. I'm going to try to share my screen. Neo Monster Island. Look at that. Classic Godzilla. Actually, it's remarkable work. Oh, look, there's a whole page with Godzilla memes. Yeah, I like that. neomonsterisland.com. godzilla.com. Yeah, send some clicks and maybe some love their way. Yeah, I'd like to find out more about that. Hated the film Godzilla versus Kong. Like, I realize people say, well, it's a dumb monster movie. And so if it does something stupid, you're supposed to just shut your brain off and go with it. Yeah, no. Like, you got to at least try. Godzilla versus Kong starts so strongly with the story about Kong and the little girl and the connection that they have. And then they go off into oblivion and talk about what this jungle home hidden under the earth's crust where Kong lives. What the what? I'm sorry. So if you drill down into the earth's core, you'll find Kongville. Oh, God. I almost left. I was so disappointed. So anyway. Let's take a look here. Oh, I've got Jeff calling in. He is almost queued on the switchboard. I did like the Gareth Edwards Godzilla film, the first one, that they wasted Bryan Cranston, but it was actually a pretty good movie. And then what was the next one? Was it King of the Monsters, the one with Rodan in it? I don't know. I need someone to guide me into the correct films. Jeff from Southwest Washington, are you with me, my friend?
Yeah, Seth, I'm here. How are you?
I'm well. What's on your mind?
Well, it's something I've wanted to ask you about for a while now. And I really like to get Aaron's and Matt's and Noah's take on it too. Is when I was um, still a practicing pagan, I heard some of the horsemen talking about religion, Dawkins and Hitchens and whatnot. And they always focused on the absurdity of Christianity, the absurdity of Islam. Not a whole lot of people touch on the belief systems that are sort of a part of the neo-pagan movement. And, first of all, the neo-pagans aren't the ones in power trying to change laws to affect other people. So perhaps they don't need as much attention. But I just wondered, what if you have any kind of send up for neo-paganism at all.
I think the reason that the primary focus is on the big two is because these are the wildfires that require our immediate attention. I mean, even on this show, we've gotten into some other stuff, more of the culty stuff from time to time. But I think most of the reason you hear Christianity, Islam over and over and over is because that's where the main threats are. I myself don't know much about neo paganism. And I would welcome experts to guide me through those conversations and maybe even do an entire broadcast on them. Is this your wheelhouse?
Well, I mean, as somebody who practiced for a long time, and as somebody with a degree in psychology, I can kind of break it down a little bit, but I wouldn't call myself an expert.
Well, I mean, give me the primer. Give me the Reader's Digest version of neo paganism.
Okay, so for me, it's a focus on the cycle of the year and life and death and rebirth. And October 31st is the new year. That's what we would call the blood feast in ancient Europe before the Romans came and mucked things up. And what happened during the blood feast is that you would slaughter the animals who weren't expected to make it through the winter. You'd bring in the rest of the crops that you were going to store, and then you throw a big party and you invite everybody in town and you celebrate the bountiful harvest that you have, and that we're going to be able to get through these cold, dark times together. And so that's kind of, and then there's different points throughout the year. The solstices, the equinoxes, they call them quarters and cross quarters, but at different times of the year, there are different things to do, such as, October is obviously harvest. In February, we have Imbolc, which is the first of the planting season, right? And to take it to a metaphorical place, I think about harvest, the lessons that I've learned throughout the year. And when I'm planting ideas and thoughts and desires and goals that I want to see throughout the coming year. and hopefully harvest off of again. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of a primer, I guess.
Yeah, what I have liked about, and we talk about the paganisms and pagan traditions as precursors to many of our Christian traditions. I have always liked the gratitude, the connection with the earth, the preparing for the
Hmm.
future, and the honoring of the past. Those elements of paganism always kind of I always thought they were kind of romantic and actually quite human in that way. I don't know if
Hmm.
I'm overreading it or overthinking it. Would you agree? I mean, it's sort of an earthy connection, a connection to life kind
Yeah,
of a vibe, right?
yeah, and yeah, exactly. And the quote that comes to mind is, "Be noble, for you are made of stars. Be humble, for you are made of earth." Right?
Oh,
And
I'm writing that
so
down.
my
I'm writing that
yeah,
down. That's so good.
so, so my connection with the earth is important because every molecule that's in my body right now was already here on Earth, and then some chemical reaction came along and stacked it up into me. Um, and uh, and so understanding and appreciating the cycles that the Earth goes through and how life evolved here and why we have the practices that we do around, farming and agriculture and whatnot. I mean, obviously, industrial agriculture has found ways around, like having to leave a field fallow in order to replenish the soil and that kind of thing. But I think um, taking that connection to the earth and then metaphorically transferring it, my connection to other human beings, is, yeah, you're right. It's kind of romantic. So maybe there's not much to send up here.
I think it might be. I mean, I'll ask the listeners if they would be interested in a show on paganism, neo-paganism, etc. But I would have to lean on shoulders much bigger and taller than my own. So yeah, let's kind of let me float a trial
That's
balloon
going
on
to be
that
hard
one.
to do because you're like 6'5", right?
I'm 6'1", but you're very kind. Now, you want to see somebody tall and looming, just look at Aaron Raw. He doesn't need lifts like Ron DeSantis does. He just walks and looms, and then he pulls out
I
the
know,
hot
but he's
powder.
he's such a teddy bear. I just want to sit on his lap and tell him what I want for Halloween.
Yeah, that's a whole other party right there. All right, my friend. Be safe, Jeff. Thanks for
It's good
calling.
talking to you, Seth.
See you later.
Yep. See you later.
I think it's romantic to think that, and when I say it, it sounds like a freaking Hallmark movie, but we are all stardust, right? The elements that came from the stars constitute everything that we see around us and constitute who and what we are. And from stars we came, and to stars we will one day return. I think that's magical. It's a kind of, I guess, what I call it eternal life as we pass away, right? My day comes and the elements of my body are reconstituted into the earth and then over the course of time into other things. And then the earth finally goes away and the sun burns up. And yeah, I don't know what the universe is going to do with us, but we continue on in that way. We're not conscious of it, but it is a kind of eternal life. I don't know. I mean, do you see it as romantic in that way? I kind of do, but maybe I'm just a big sap. Paul at 612. Paul, where are you, my friend? Wrong button. Paul, thanks for your patience.
Oh,
Are you
there we
with me?
go. Hey, how you doing, Seth?
I'm great, my friend. Let's talk. What's on your mind?
Oh, well, well, first of all, I wanted to say quickly, it was really nice to meet you when you were out in Minneapolis last time. That was a really good talk, really fun time. So I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
So you bet, absolutely. So I was going through some of your old episodes, and you talked about really liking Spanish guitar, and you always wanted to learn, and you wrote a pretty neat little composition as well that I thought was pretty cool. Tell me a little bit about that. I'm curious. Flamenco is actually one of my specialities, and I'm curious as to what is it about Spanish guitar that really kind of speaks to you.
When you say I did an arrangement, I did it on a keyboard with the Spanish guitar kind of a program. So I totally cheated. I am not a great pianist. I play only by ear. I was a nightmare for all my music teachers because as they were trying to teach me scales and all of the clefs and everything else, I just wanted to go play my own thing. But I took guitar lessons for a few months. I just couldn't get my fingers around the fret. I couldn't get them to connect with the strings. I wasn't, and I became so frustrated. And almost everybody I've spoken to who plays guitar and even teaches guitar, they say that's normal. You will feel like it is never going to happen. You're going to be terrible. And then suddenly you will connect with the instruments. After 3 months, I never got there. And I think I put the guitar on eBay and went to go do other things. But do you play? Do you
Awesome.
teach? What's your story?
Yeah, yeah. So, again, I don't know if you remember me. You meet so many people, but I'm actually a music professor, and I own a little guitar and music school out here. And yeah, I've been teaching for a long time. And one thing I tell all my students is I say you got to be okay with sounding like shit, and that's normal. You're going to be fine, right? And I think it kind of allows them to relax a little bit, and because a lot of people come into lessons with this idea that, oh my gosh, I got to sound perfect, I can't make any mistakes. And I tell everyone, you've got to make mistakes, you have to suck before you're good. And I find that generally speaking, that kind of puts a lot of people at ease. And it's just fun to see people kind of grow with the instrument, whether they want to be a really great guitar player or they just want to pick up a couple Johnny Cash tunes. Hey, if they're having a great time and they're picking up the instrument because they love it, that makes me happy as a teacher.
Hmm. Well, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's out of the cards that I will never pick up. I may one day try again. It's probably like anything that you do. If you're going to be a singer or a writer or some sort of painter, you're probably going to be horrible for a while until you are not. But, are there some people, Paul, that just will never get there? Come on. I know you've had some students and you're like, you need to do something else with your life. Do you ever just write somebody off? Because you'd probably write me off if I showed up in your classroom, Paul. I'm just saying.
Well, you'll have to show up sometime then. I've the students that I mean, I've never like so much kicked somebody out, but I can usually tell if it's in their heart or not,
Yeah.
and they're just like maybe too afraid to say, hey, this just isn't my thing. And I'll just sit them down and we'll just have a nice frank talk with it. And I'll tell them, hey, I tried some instruments too that I thought I'd like, and I didn't, but you gave it a shot, and that's perfectly fine, and that's perfectly okay. If you ever want to come back, you're welcome. So I've never sat down and told someone, you can't do this. No way. I work with a lot of kids who are autistic, and usually with those kids is they have sort of they have a thing that they're really good at, and that can be like example. I have a student who is really into trains, especially engines, and you can tell this kid any year. Uh, any year, any date, and he can tell you everything about that steam engine and how it was built and what it takes. So what we do is rewrite songs together that sound like those engines. So I'll say 1942. What does the engine sound like? And he'll write a song making sounds with his guitar that sounds like that engine to him. And so that's a super gratifying thing to see. And also it's neat to allow him an introduction and experience with music via something he understands. I don't know if that makes sense or not,
It
but
does. It's ingenious. What a great way to sort of go into their wheelhouse and make it personal and unique to them. That's fantastic.
yeah,
Um,
thank you.
well, thanks for the encouragement. And, for me, I just love the way it sounds. Acoustic guitar in general. One of my favorite songs is a song that released, I want to say, in the late 80s by Sting. It's called Fragile. And it's mostly just
Sure.
him on the acoustic guitar. And I could listen to that tune and songs like it all day
It,
long. So,
it's funny you mentioned that. I was actually just teaching that to a student yesterday, so that's a nice little coincidence.
yeah. And it's a
No,
powerful
that's
message. Really, really good stuff.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. One more thing before I go, and I know you get tons of emails, but a while ago I tried to send you a link to a free copy of my flamenco album. I don't know if you got that or not. I would have brought you a copy out when you were here in Minneapolis, but I sold out of all my copies, which is a good problem to have. But can I go ahead and resend that to you and give you just a link for a free download? Just kind of my way of saying thanks for everything you've given us as a community and
oh,
everything.
yeah. I'd be honored. Forgive my inbox. It is, no, I have not seen it, but I think I've got 10,000 emails in the box. I've read a bunch, but I can't keep up because that plus the Facebook messages, plus all of the comments that are coming on, plus everything else that's in the pipeline. And I'm just one guy. So if I missed it, it is not personal. Send it to me again. Would
Oh,
it be under your name? Will I see Paul in the email?
yes.
Okay. I'll look for Paul.
Yeah.
Just send it to me tonight. I'll go take a peek before we call
Great.
it a day.
Wonderful.
All right.
Wonderful. And again, a big thanks for your show. A big thanks for everything you do. I know you've questioned before whether you're making a difference. You are.
Oh,
Just
thank
want
you.
you to know that, and keep doing what you do. And I hope to see you in Minneapolis, St. Paul again sometime.
All right. All right, my friend. Take care of yourself. We'll see you later.
Hey, you too. Thanks, Seth.
All right.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. I find myself apologizing a lot for having a difficult time keeping up. But, I like being busy. I'd rather have too much than not enough, although occasionally it is a little bit overwhelming. So, and and Natalie says I do it to myself. She's like, you started a second podcast? Yes, honey. And she's totally supportive. She's like, hey, with all that you're doing, you have a set. Yes. How often does it release? 3 times a week. How much research does it require? You do not want to know. But, people are noticing the True Stories with Seth Andrews podcast. If you haven't heard it, I would encourage you to check it out. I should do one for you here, just since we have a second. I'll get to Dave on the switchboard in just a moment. This was, I think, one of the first stories that I released in August, I think, of 2022. If you've heard this one, forgive me. And if I screw up a couple of the details, it's because I'm doing it from memory. I don't have the script in front of me. But this is the kind of thing that I'm doing on the second show. The year is 1953, if I recall. A man named John. He's a code breaker for the United States Air Force. This is roughly 8 years after the ending of the Second World War, but the Cold War between the superpowers is in full swing, specifically the United States and Soviet Russia, with their spies in our midst, our spies in their midst. And John was a code breaker in the Air Force. His job was to intercept and translate coded Soviet transmissions. And then he would report those messages to his superiors, and they would go up the chain of command. And one day, there was a lot of traffic, a lot of chatter about Joseph Stalin, the dictator. Now, Stalin had been the totalitarian dictator of Russia since the 1930s, a brutal tyrant. In fact, historians would say Stalin was responsible for the deaths of around 20 million of his own citizens, many by starvation. But what happened to Stalin would affect the balance of power in the rest of the world. And so whenever John was sitting in the codebreaker's chair, he heard these messages, he decoded them, and they said Joseph Stalin is in failing health. He is very ill. It doesn't look good. Doctors have been summoned. I mean, this was big news, and this was news that Russia wanted to protect. John caught it, and he sent those messages translated up the chain of command until finally the message came in. Joseph Stalin has died. John, the codebreaker, translated that. He gave it to his superior, and immediately it rushed up the chain of command to reach President Dwight Eisenhower. Now, what's interesting about this true story is not about Stalin. It's about John. Because John, whose message went up to reach the ear of a president, would in his life go on to meet and shake hands with presidents. John, in his off hours, was a musician. He wrote songs, played guitar. He was honorably discharged, and he started to pursue music more seriously. Before he knew it, he was writing and recording and performing in front of hundreds, then thousands, and then tens of thousands of people. John would eventually go on to be inducted into both the Rock and Roll and the Country Music Hall of Fame. That same John who sat in the Codebreaker's chair, that was the John who walked the line, who went down to that burning ring of fire and sang the Folsom Prison Blues. Johnny Cash. And that's a true story. And that's the kind of fun stuff I get to release for you 3 times a week. True Stories with Seth Andrews, streaming on all major podcast apps. This is still my first love. That is, it's becoming a close second. Hope you enjoyed that one. Dave at 719, thanks for waiting on me. Are you there?
Hey, Seth, this is Dave.
Thanks for calling.
Hello?
What's up? What do you want to talk about?
Hey, well, thanks for taking my call. Real quick, I guess in the same vein, I didn't know that story about Johnny Cash. That's really cool. But
Cool.
with the music and the guitar speak and everything like that, it got me thinking for a moment. I really wish that within our education, I don't know if this is just something here in the United States or if it's like a global thing, but I really wish there was more of an emphasis putting on the acceptance of failure and trying and not succeeding, but that's okay. Because it feels like the way the mark is set, it's either you achieve or you don't. And if you don't, it's bad across the board. And I mean, nobody wakes up able to play guitar. You know, it's something you kind of got to work at a little bit. But I'm sorry,
get
that's a little bit of a tangent from
No,
what I called
like
in for.
I like the sentiment of it. You know, does it bring you joy? Does it fulfill
mean,
you? Does it feed something in you? Is a hell of a lot more important than are you a master of it? I think that's valid. Sure,
So
sure.
I would say that if you had the same passion for playing guitar as you do for your podcast, you'd probably be a rock star.
I don't know.
For some
you
perspective,
haven't seen me with a guitar, but you know, I get it. It's like I'm
as
not
an
a great
artist,
I'm not a great pianist at all, but it does feel good to go and just kind of peck away at the keys. And who cares if I'm never going to be on stage at Carnegie Hall? It's a great release, and it's you know, it's something that feeds something in me. So yeah, that's a great point. I appreciate you making it, Dave. What else?
yeah, it's more important to love than it is to succeed. The love for it will help you succeed.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, the holidays are coming up. For people of us non-belief and skeptical persuasion, it can be a difficult time, especially if we have, you know, some ostracization from families and things like that. And going into that, it's a little bit of a struggle for me. As I've come into my own here and started breaking away from a lot of the things that I used to think and how I've developed as an adult on account of religion, it's made me realize a lot of the subtle evils that kind of come along with growing up in a faith-based institution. You know, you have a lot of people who kind of express those sentiments towards you, or
I hear a lot from people stressed about the holidays. I myself had a whole conversation about how much to engage over the Thanksgiving holiday. Is it worth it? Why do it? What's the cost benefit? What do you want to get out of it? And I understand, you know, it's some people just light up in the months of November and December in the United States. And there are other people who have the opposite feeling. It's hard. They've lost people. Maybe the death of a family member becomes much more forefront in their mind. You know, there's an empty chair at the family gathering. Maybe the season causes them to feel depressed as the weather has gotten colder and darker. It's so many factors. And, you know, you make a great point that despite the fact that we are surrounded by all of those happy, clappy, nauseatingly cheery, bell filled holiday songs playing on the, you know, on the loudspeakers at the department stores, it's not really that reality for a great many people. So that's a good point.
so I've always been really appreciative of the sense of, you know, giving and camaraderie with people. And, you know, for me, the season is very much so about that just, basic humanity of the people that you don't get to see all the time. And you want to let them know that you're thinking about them and you want to enjoy those sorts of things with them. But I've suffered with depression for a very long time. And unfortunately, I come from a very religious family. And by that, I mean Pentecostal evangelist. So it's a really hard thing for me, who's somebody who's skeptically minded, who's, I want to consider myself a rationalist, but that's one of those things, can't put a title on yourself to be like, oh, I'm a rationalist, just like I'm so humble and so caring and giving. But
No, well, I don't think
I
that's
strive for those
necessarily
things.
egotistical, Dave, to say that, I am a person who is a promoter of rationality, and that's, a focus for me. I understand that you don't want to come off as haughty and presumptuous
Yeah.
and egotistical, but if you're a rationalist, you sound like a rationalist to me. So yeah, I'd call you that, Dave. I'd call you that.
But it's a difficult thing to call out for help when you have these mental issues that are going on in the background. And I've had to kind of lean on outside sources. Talking with a family member the other day, they actually suggested that I go and see a therapist that focus on the family. And I didn't quite know how to tell them no, other than I won't be a part of that evil. And it's hard,
If I
very
may, for
hard.
those who don't know what Dave's talking about, Focus on the Family is a religious organization that was founded and run by James Dobson, who is a fundamentalist Christian apologist. He's a hardliner and he's just a freaking human rights nightmare. He's a science nightmare. He's a history nightmare. He's a propaganda nightmare. And so the idea that Focus on the Family would be guiding any counseling is terrifying because they would likely be rooting it in notions of obedience and disobedience and divine destiny and Jesus is watching you and pray more and all that craziness. So I'm glad you escaped that one. That would have been a nightmare.
If whenever I need to remind myself that I'm a good person, I remembered one time I was called to deliver a pizza to their offices, and I resisted the temptation to do anything to it. So I said, yeah, I think I'm a decent person in that respect, at least.
You did your job with honor, Dave, and I appreciate that. You didn't bring your own agenda into the pizza delivery, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for a lot of people. I don't think there's any wrong way to spend the holiday unless you are in denial of yourself, your authentic self. I think that's wrong. But don't beat yourself up too much. I think struggles are part of the human experience, and I'm glad that you are pursuing options. Just know you've got support and family, unconditional support here, and I hope the holiday and I hope the new year brings really good things for you. Okay.
Indeed. And thank you all very much. The likes of yourself, Matt Dillahunty, the round one, as far as I'm concerned, going forward.
He's not round.
Aaron, I know he's not, but now that's going to be stuck in my head forever.
That's going to get back.
But the likes of you, Dennett, Dawkins, and the people like that who I got to listen talk and reassure me that I was not alone. You are among that, and I thank you very much. I look at you as an uncle that is sane.
I get to be the sane uncle during the holidays. Well, I'll take that seat at the table. And I hope the holidays are good for you. Thanks for calling.
Right, thank you very much. Have a good season.
Matt will be the first to tell you that he lost a lot of weight since the first time we met back in 2011. And so I think there's still a publicity photo or three of him floating around from back then. So when somebody said he's the round one, I think they're either referring to the bald head, which makes them think round. But Matt, I mean, he's pretty lean these days. So I don't know, but that is going to get back to him. It's just whatever. Whatever. I'm just going to leave that out there. I appreciate you watching and listening. I appreciate you being a part of my life over the year 2023. And again, there's no wrong way to spend the holidays. I call it Christmas. That's the name of the holiday. You can call it whatever you want. Some people love to do the whole thing, tree, presents, music, everything else. Some people say, screw it, I'm not going to do a damn thing. Absolutely fine. Maybe you want to decorate with your own flavor of Christmas traditions, your own color scheme, different foods, different stuff. The aesthetic, I think, doesn't have to be any one thing. There's no wrong way to do the holiday season. Just make it right, make it yours, and enjoy yourself. And that's my hope for you. And I will see you back here next time